right, welcome everybody. We're going to be diving in today about all things AI and sales. To do that, we've got Michael Pedone, an old friend of mine, CEO and founder of SalesBuzz. Michael, thanks for joining, and how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun session. Before we dive in, maybe tell us just a little bit about yourself and what's going on over there at SalesBuzz.
About myself, been a straight commission inside sales rep forever and a day. Built one company. It was a marketing company from scratch. Sold it for 7 figures in 2007. Took some time off, decided what I want to do next. And I just have a passion for helping sales reps. I really do know what it feels like to have the phone feel like a 25-pound weight. Actually, today people just click a button, right? They don't actually pick up the phone anymore. But I started with picking up and dialing. So I know what it feels like to have that as a 25-pound weight and just get rejected. And I know what I did to fix that. And I created this perfect talk track that really, makes things so much easier no matter what I started to sell. And then I was able to teach other people how to do that. And so that's why I created salesbuzz.com, which is an online sales training platform. People can just learn to start hitting quota. Let's just put it that way.
I love it, man. Yeah, look, Michael Pedone and I recently reconnected. This guy's one of the salt of the earth, one of the good ones. Been doing sales for a long time. It's been fun to kind of reconnect, Michael. So we'll start high level and then maybe get into a couple details. You're obviously around the space of sales all the time. Just curious, where do you see sales training heading over the next 3 to 5 years? What needs to die? What do you think needs to scale? How's it kind of changing?
Yeah, what's going to die is, in my opinion, live training, live, especially live in-person training.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going away. I think the price is going to come down and the value is going to go up and the results are going to go up once they learn how to use and train AI right to actually help other sales reps learn with their sales skills, how to improve their own sales skills. Most salespeople struggle because they just don't know that there's a step-by-step process. So when you start to break that process down and then you use tools like AI, if the trainers teach the AI right, they're going to be able to help the individuals. They'll be able to scale that way. And then they'll be able to break each section down to micro steps and then perfect each one of those and get them better and then on their way. Yeah, that's where I think we're going.
It gets just so much more precision, right? I mean, it's been a little more high level, but that ability to get so deep in every single detail will probably help people just improve their sales their sales methodology to rates we've never seen before. You brought up AI. Everyone's obsessed with it. Obviously, we're talking at this this conference about it. How do you unpack this? There's got to be a place for humans. I think you've said once that tech doesn't fix poor talk tracks. It can amplify them at times. Where's the balance of human and AI? How do you see that playing out?
Well, let's just deal with the elephant in the room. Like everybody, a lot of people are concerned that AI might just replace them. And in certain industries, it's going to be. When it comes to sales, maybe a lot of people don't know this, but when it comes to outbound sales, there's laws on the books that prevent automatic, robotic. It was for the political world, right? It was for the political world where you don't get robocalls, but there's an exact law for it. But it's going to prevent outbound calls from happening. But if it's an inbound lead, then it's fair game. Companies will use AI to be able to quickly follow up with that, which is a really cool thing. As long as, here's the problem. Here's a problem, Gabe. AI, for the most part, goes out to the internet to research things and takes what is popular, and then it uses that. But let me ask you, what if most of the information out there, especially let's just stick with sales, what if most of the information out there that's popular is wrong?
Yeah. Well, and
go ahead.
Well, I think that is a challenge. You and I have talked about this. I think, if you really want to make AI good, it is got to be based on the information that it has. And so there is a lot of generic stuff out there. If you can get the right information and get it into the hands of AI, it becomes much more valuable. But I've liked kind of sometimes where you've gone, which is like, man, let's not focus so much on the replacement right now. Let's figure out how we can basically aid, or what you were just saying, like how can it make me better? How can it listen and get more precise about the steps I'm doing and find that better balance rather than kind of go to this futuristic Terminator area where everybody's gone and AI is selling to AI.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I think when it comes to the outbound stuff, which is what most companies, it's a core
It is. It
of their
still is.
revenue.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about, as of right now, for AI coming for the cold outbound stuff. And that's a good thing, because if I can train AI to sell like me, I'll be the Jeff Bezos of the sales world. I'll just create a bunch of sales agents and hire my service to every company in the world. They'll just use my sales agents on how to sell, to follow my talk track, right? With that being said, the best thing I could do now, since there's laws on the books that prevent the outbound cold calling, is I could use AI to learn how to sell like I do, and then follow my process, and then I could train other sales reps to do that without me having to be present. And that's what we're working on.
I love that. I think that's a great place to start. And your point on outbound and inbound is right. I'm just not hearing very many people say that they're having a lot of success generally in outbound. I think you brought up kind of that TCPA robo dialing.
That's right.
There's some challenges there if you're just going to have bots call bots type of thing. But so there are inbound, I think, has been people have found it a little better because maybe, people have opted in. So, and then emailing has gotten weird. There's so many people, I think, doing weird stuff with email. So I like that concept. Where can you focus in, I think, inbound and some of this enablement stuff to turn people into better sellers is just a great place to start. So wanted to get some of your takes on some of the great content you've put out there. One of the things I love is some of the stuff you've talked about opening. You've said that most sales teams lose deals in those first 60 seconds after the opener, maybe sometimes not the opener itself, but there is this dead zone right at the beginning of these sales calls. Man, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, right?
That's right.
How do you kind of coach companies to work through this, or some of the thoughts on this first kind of introductory period?
See, this goes back to what I said earlier, where, if AI goes out and picks what's popular, for everybody that's listening to this, that's ever gone through a sales training program where their company paid for them to go through a sales training program, let me just ask you this. Everybody knows what an opener is, right? You have to get the conversation started. There's all different methods that are out there, some good, some I wouldn't use, right? But to each their own. If it's working for you, great. If it gets the opener going. What is the objective? This is for everybody that's listening. Before I give you your answer, I want them to think for a second. What's the objective? So first of all, just to clarify, just to not assume anything, an opening value statement's job is to do two things. It's to do this in this order. It's to pique interest in the first few seconds and then gain permission to continue the call.
Yeah.
Right. So if you use an opener with a what's in it for them, and then you ask permission to continue the call, you're going to get a yes most of the time, because you're front loading it. But that's what an opener is. And the opener's job is to pique interest, gain permission to continue the call. What do you do next when they say, sure, I have a second? What's your next step?
Well, I think that, unfortunately, is sometimes the dead zone.
Exactly, the dead zone. So right, so a lot of people
say, right. It is to your point. You're like, I got it. They're interested.
Yeah. So what do I do? Right. So and this is where I think 99% of the salespeople struggle, because like a lot of people, if I ask them this question, if they answer it in their head, they'll probably say, well, I got to build rapport, or I got to get them to like me, or I got to do this, whatever. No, no matter what industry you're in. If you're using the SalesBuzz Michael Pedone method, no matter what industry you're in, after you pique interest, you're on first base. Yeah. I break the sales process down into three bases in a home, right? So I pick up the phone, I'm in the batter's box, I use an opener, I get to first base. They say, yeah, I got a second. Great, I'm on first base safely. I got to get to second base. Well, between first and second, you actually have to qualify. Now, most salespeople go, I already know they're qualified. I got the right title. They're in the right industry. Okay, no, that's your ICP. That doesn't mean they're qualified. There's three parts to qualifying. The first part, which is, this is a deal killer. If this one thing here doesn't happen, nothing else matters. And that is, do they recognize a problem? The secret to selling, whether it's cold or warm, is both parties have to recognize a problem exists, and that's a problem that your solution solves. Solves. So how do you get them to recognize a problem? That's the first. If qualifying is in three parts, the first part is to get problem recognition. Well, you can't call somebody and tell them they have a problem, because they're going to doubt it. If you're a sales rep and you ever got somebody on the phone, you asked a couple of questions and you thought, oh, they're going to have this problem, I know actually exactly how to solve it. And then you go ahead and explain how to solve it. And they go, yeah, it sounds good, but I think I'll just stick with what we have. What that means is you skip that critical step, because you might have recognized a problem, but you didn't get them to admit or recognize a problem.
Do you feel like, it seems like, what do most people do in this place? Do they try to build rapport, or they do go straight to,
pitching?
This is what John Doe's company does. They kind of just jump into them.
They data dump, they try to build rapport, or they try to set the appointment, and all of those things. There's a reason why. Before I did this session today, yesterday I was doing some research. 91% of the B2B sales teams missed quota last year.
I mean,
How
look
is
at that out there. Man, look, I've come from different companies and I've talked to different companies. And part of it is, it seems like it's such an excuse, but it seems like it's getting harder. I mean, there's so much outbound and there's many people calling and emailing. And so it's hard to stand out in that sea of sameness, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, 90% sounds large, but
yeah,
look,
it's not my numbers. I did, I did the
but I
research.
don't think it's too far from it. So
Yeah.
so your thought is, look, get the opener, and then again, this kind of problem. What do you call it? It's like problem
It's
identification.
problem, yeah. So it's like psychology of how, if you actually look at it from the perspective of how does a decision made?
Yeah.
What's the first step that happens when something, when I'm purchasing? If you walk it backwards, okay, I just bought something. What did I do right before I bought something? What did I do before that? What did I do before that? What did I do before? If you get all the way down to the beginning, it starts with problem recognition.
Yeah, it's like,
And
I
if you
need something. I'm it's broken. I have a problem. I need to fix it. That's why I went and tried to get a solution, right? So
right. So if you have to do outbound cold calling, right? And you see that you build your list of an ICP, ideal customer profile, which means you're fishing where the fish are. Yeah, you know what the people that buy your stuff, you know what they look like. So you have a pool of them. That's the pre-call stuff. You have that, right? So you have to reach out. You have to have an opener that piques their curiosity and gets them willing to have a conversation. Okay, now what's the next step from there? Just because they will have a conversation doesn't mean they recognize the problem.
yeah.
So you have to start with the very first mini step after the opener, and I call it the engagement question. The engagement question is designed to place your prospect's attention in an area that you need them thinking about. It's going to take multiple questions to get a prospect to recognize a problem.
Yeah.
So when I start with an engagement question and they respond, guess what we're having? We're having a sales conversation now, and it's in an area I need them thinking about. And then my next two questions is going to open that up a little bit. And now they're starting to recognize a problem. Now, guess what human nature is once they recognize they have a problem? They want to know how to solve it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now,
Yeah. So, but it's the question you're saying that really
Yeah.
gets them kind of like, because a lot of people, what do they say? You can't teach a man to fish. You got to something about fishing type thing. But anyways, people got to kind of discover it for themselves, right? You can't just tell them the problem. They need to almost kind of think of it themselves. That's kind of that engagement question concept?
I ask questions where I don't lead them. See, here's the thing too. I don't lead the witness because I don't want false answers. I don't want to pull an answer that's not true, because if I pull an answer just to go, okay, now I can go down this path, I'm still going to run into a dead end. So so I'm very neutral, but I'm calling to help, and I'll ask an engagement question. You want me to give you an example?
Yeah. That if you can.
The best engagement questions place the prospect's attention. So you'll use one of two scenarios. So for me, for example, if I called you, let's say you're the CRO of a team, and you said you were willing to take my call, I'll go, okay. I guess my first question is, I think I already know the answer, but your sales team, are they handling inbound warm leads, or are they doing like traditional outbound, prospecting, cold calling, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Now you don't have to answer. But what I did there, since I'm in sales and sales training, I'm using their sales team, and I give the two most likely scenarios of what they're doing. I give a this or that. It focuses them where I want them to be, because eventually it's going to be about their sales team, because I want to get to what their numbers are like and things of that nature.
Sure.
So when I start it this way, they go, oh, it's the first, it's the second, it's a combination of those two, or it's none of those, it's this. I don't care how they answer, but when they do answer, it's focused, and we're having a sales conversation. And then based on how they answer, I know what my next question is. And then, within 60 seconds or so, we either have a problem that they're going to want to, let's see how we can help solve that. You're right, that is an issue. Or we're both going to know, hey, it doesn't look like there's anything I can do to help you right now, Gabe. I'll tell you what, though, if you ever run into a scenario where this, and this happens, I'm going to send you my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me. And I call that planting a seed if there's no problem in the initial call. You wouldn't be surprised.
Before you get into that, plant the seed.
Yeah.
So again, you have the engagement question. It gets them kind of thinking a little bit about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you typically ask 1 or 2, 3 questions in that to see if they can kind of come to that pain discovery? And then you move over into that kind of call to action, company overview, how you solve it? How do you bridge that gap between engagement question to I can solve it. I'm here.
You have to, we're nowhere near solving it yet, because I don't know if you're the only decision maker, part of the decision making team. I don't know how big of a problem that is for you yet. I don't, so there's a couple of factors there. So there's 6 questions, but there's 3 mandatory questions that I ask to get problem recognition. So if I ask you that engagement question and you answered, we're doing a little bit of both, but mostly outbound. Okay, cool. Just out of curiosity, how many sales reps do you have? I call this qualifying the opportunity size. Because if you go back to me and go, we got 3, I'm like, okay, I'll spend a little bit of time with you, but I'm not going to overinvest in you. If you got 30, okay, now I got a player, right?
Yep.
So, but that's how I do it. But I just breeze right through and I go, okay, cool. So here's the thing, Gabe. I mean, the clients we help the most, the ones that really get the highest ROI possible for what is it we have to offer, their sales team is usually struggling with one of 2 issues. It's either, now let me just stop right there. They're leaning into the call now because they want to hear what are those 2 issues that are most common, right?
Love that. Yeah.
You can take those first 3 questions, the engagement, the opportunity size, and then the eventual pain point that I was about to get to, and you can use that in any industry, right? You just transfer the data of the vertical and the stuff. Like I was helping somebody yesterday who does, there's compliance issues otherwise they get fined if they don't meet certain requirements. You know, so it's like the engagement. So when it comes to making sure, with the compliance, are you guys doing in-house or are you outsourcing a firm to make sure that you don't pay those heavy fees? See, it works the same way. It's like, we use in-house, or we do, or we, we're not doing anything, right?
So
it works.
Take the 3 engagement. So they are a little more tailored to obviously your prospect, to your industry. But then as you transition over, again, it still needs to be tailored. You have to come up with those. Typically, these are the couple of the challenges or problems that the people who get the most ROI from our solution have. And obviously, those 2 challenges are tailored to compliance or marketing or whatever the industry might be.
The purpose of the sales questions, the steps are the same. You customize each question for your vertical industry. Last time I checked, I have like 86 different industries that have used my online sales training course. They all get the same training, and they're all doing great
because it's more principle based. It's these concepts right now.
Yeah, because the salespeople we're thrown out into we're like thrown out in the ocean with no life vest. We're like, okay, you just follow this cadence, right? We use sales loft, we use outreach, we use whatever. Just make sure you go through the motions. Okay, I called today, I sent a LinkedIn today, I sent an email here. Like they're just following what they're told to because they're getting a base salary that pretty much can cover their overhead. I came from straight commission where
that's cutthroat. Straight commission. That word is like a 4-letter word now. There ain't that many left of you out there, Michael.
That is true. And yeah, sure. Listen, you get 125, 250, whatever you're making to sell, and you're just getting fed leads or whatever. That's fine. But at the end of the day, what's happening with 91% of people? Let's say it's 50% of people. Let's say that was wrong. Let's say half of them are not hitting quota. That's still so much revenue left on the table for a company. And the reason is because the majority of sales reps today didn't have to get a job as straight commission. So they were never forced to really learn what's out there. Most companies are hiring what's popular, not what's really out there. And we swing this back to the AI. That's where I'm going. AI can work, but if AI learns from what's popular out there, they're still going to have those gaps. They're still going to be missing those steps, and it's not going to work in that scenario. So that's why it's like you have to have good input.
I love that formula. So let's just finish up that. So you kind of have this opener, you kind of have these engagement type questions, and then you turn it over to kind of that, more almost these are the challenges that companies do. And then you kind of move a little bit into your offering to see if there's interest and then see if you can set the appointment at a high level. Is that kind of how you're seeing
it works like this
successfully move?
I'll break it down just like this. Okay. The course will teach you how to do it, but I'll teach you what to do.
Just high. Yeah. Give me that high level. Yep.
You got to have an opener. Most people don't know what the purpose of an opener is. The purpose of an opener is to pique interest first, gain permission second.
Okay.
You want to do it in that order. Once that happens, you're on first base. Now you got to get to second base. Between first and second, there's 3 mini steps. The first step is called, you got to get problem recognition.
Okay.
Right. To get problem recognition, you start with an engagement question. You ask your opportunity size question. Then you do your pain point question to get confirmation. Now I have three questions after that you could ask, but sometimes you get enough from that one that it's ready to move on.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So let's just say you got enough to move on. So you're a third of the way to second base. Next, once you get problem recognition, you can't assume that the person you're speaking to is a decision maker, even if they have the title that you know that you're going after, because one company that has this title and can make the sole decision, that same type of company across town has that title, but their process might need 3 sign-offs. So you don't know. So the next step is, before I jump into presenting, is I want to know who the heck I'm speaking to. And there's 5 roles. Every prospect you ever speak to will fit into the category of one of 5 roles as it relates to their ability to make a decision. So you have to know what those 5 roles are, and you have to ask the right question. Then you have to know, okay, if they're in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, what direction do I go in? Let's assume for this, once you get that, let's assume you're speaking to either a decision maker, somebody who's part of the decision-making team, or at least somebody that can influence it. Okay, let's say you identify that. The next thing you want to do is, I want to do time frame. So Gabe, I understand that you're having this challenge, and that you make the decision on that. Once you find the right solution that can solve that and make that go away for you so you can start gaining X, Y, Z, how soon realistically would you like to implement a solution to do that? And now, right, so now I asked that question, but I asked it because I know we got a problem, and I know Gabe is the right person to answer the next question, which was the time.
Okay.
Most salespeople don't do this, right? They just assume, and then so that's when here's the problem, Gabe. If you assume that they're a decision maker, and then you go through the whole process, and then you go ahead and go for a close, and then you find out that they're under contract for another year, or they have something else going on, or they give you some excuse, you're handling objections that you could have avoided early on if you just follow this process. So when I ask the time frame question, every business is going to have what I call a strike zone, meaning my business is, from the time I first speak to somebody to the time they make a decision, it's usually within 30 days. So when I ask that question and somebody comes back and says, oh, probably in about 6 months, that's a red flag. You have to know how to respond.
Yep.
Right. But you also have to know what your times are. Some companies are selling multi-million-dollar deals, and it's going to be 6 to 12 months. As long as they're within your strike zone, you move on to the next step.
That's right.
If you're not, you have to inquire about it. Right. And so the next step after that, just since you asked, so once I get time frame down, I want to find out what their ideal solution looks like. The reason why I want to do that, so I might say, so okay, let me ask you a question. So if we can help you solve this, and this, I'm more than happy to share, how we can do it. But what are the top 3 things you'd like to see in a solution that'll do that for you? Or what are the top things most important to you when you're selecting a solution to solve X, Y, Z? And they give that to me. Here's why. Most salespeople will do a data dump when it comes to presentation, and they'll do one of 2 things. They'll either bore the prospect, or 2, they're going to be talking about things that are not important to the prospect. Yeah. And then it gets the prospect wondering, I wonder if I should shop around, because maybe there's something else out there that has just what I need, so I don't have to pay for all the bells and whistles. So when you try to build value by explaining everything your solution does, you could actually be delaying the sales cycle, because you're creating an environment for them to go shop around.
Yeah.
But if you find out what's most important and you just focus on those, next you're shortening the sales cycle and you're increasing your close rate.
I love it.
So there's a lot of things that you have to do.
Look, I mean, this is the art and the science, I think, of selling. But it sounds like you're letting them do more of the talking. I mean, from what I'm hearing from you,
of course,
you're not doing the dump. I mean, this is a lot of more like leading them a little bit, asking them questions. Am I hearing that right?
I teach sales reps how to walk prospects with, I teach sales reps how to walk with a prospect down a path. And as we're going down the path, we're closing all the danger doors. We're going to open the door. We're going to look in, clear, safe, close it, next step.
Yeah.
And then this is how I'm helping sales reps close more deals, because now they have a clear path on how to sell. Yeah. Most people, it's just, like I said, they throw them in the ocean, goes, figure it out. They usually drown or get eaten by sharks.
That's the problem when you're in an ocean alone. Awesome, Michael. Well, as we kind of wrap here, I love the overview. I appreciate you walking us through some of the secrets of the secret sauce from a principal standpoint. 2 things to kind of ask you before I close. One, what's a takeaway that you'd leave with the audience today? Something, they might be able to implement or immediately improve on as you think about this sales conversation. Where would you focus them?
Listen, at the end of the day, sales is a performance-based game. And if you're not hitting your numbers, we have more tools than, I grew up in an era was, hey, there's a phone, here's a sheet of paper with numbers on it, start dialing, right? Yeah. So we have LinkedIn, we have internet. And here's the thing, it's not about arguing what's the best way to get a hold of somebody. I know LinkedIn's a lot of people say use LinkedIn, things of that nature. I use LinkedIn every day to confirm that the person's still there and they match my ICP. Yeah. But I'm not badgering them through messages trying to get them to set an appointment with me. If you can do that and you're setting appointments, great. The thing is you have to know what to do once you land the appointment. So whether you're doing cold calling, cold emailing, cold outreach, whatever, once you get them on the phone, don't blow it. And most sales reps are blowing because they don't know what to do after that.
I appreciate, because
Yeah.
look, I think a
Okay.
lot of the tools and focus has been so focused on like, how do you get more people to get more conversations, or how do you get in front of more people? But the truth is, now that I'm in front of, I don't know what to do, and I think a lot of people, to your point, are drowning in ocean, or they're getting eaten
Yeah.
by sharks. Okay, cool. Love the talk track. Appreciate your time today. If people wanted to learn a little more about yourself, Michael, or this course, give us the quick kind of takeaway there.
SalesBuzz.com. You get everything you need. Just go ahead and take a look at the website. You can always hit me up on LinkedIn as well.
Or you can cold call him if you can find his number, right?
My number's there.
Okay, man. Well, hey, Michael, appreciate it. Appreciate your time for the audience. Have a great day.
Sounds good.